Alright, Mr. Kano Yoshiki interview. That's very upsetting that I can't fucking do that, but it is what it is. An unexpected error occurred. I don't know why that is an unexpected error. It's kind of frustrating, actually. Okay, let's start reading. サプライズを全力で届けた9年目の FGO 運動運営校。まず9年目で振り返って思いを聞かせてください。So there's always going to be the interviewer and Mr.2 answering. So it says, let's go back on your 9th year working on this and tell me how it felt, your, feelings and your emotions. 修練イベントを発表した通り、来年はいよいよ第2部終章以下、特にナムロブと規制してない章は全てにがやってきます。未年特別など、たくさんのサーベントを育てて、最終的に絆を深めておきましょうといったことを教えていましたが、それを進めるための運営期間でした。加えて、9年目は個人的にはコラボの年になったと思っています。様々なコラボの形がありましたが、ゲストライターの方々にもご参加できることが多かったですね。オーリーディールコールにも達成して FGO を改めてとしての不公式やられる一面になったと思います。So, as the year anniversary event stated already, next year we're about to go for the final chapters of season 2. As I've stated from the very beginning of the year, and even year before that, I wanted to make sure that the people leveled up a lot of their servants, and in the very end, have their bonds deepened as much as they could. Is the whole entire that was the whole entire year of us pushing that narrative was the 8th year into the 9th year. On top of all this, the 9th year moving forward was definitely personally was a year of collaboration. As you can clearly see, a lot of the writers and the collaborating types were all around having guest writers joining us and having additional ordeal having additional ordeal calls fitted in. I believe ゲストライターをご参加いただく方多い方ですね。オールディールコールを達成して、せめて FGO としての服を広げる1年となったと思います。I believe getting Ordeal Call more expanded. I believe FGO wise, we were able to expand its narrative 1 year, 1 year more than ever we could have. So essentially, TLDR, the 9th year was about Mr.2 pushing everybody to try to get their servants leveled up and their bond leveled up. Simultaneously, personally, he feels that the 9th year was all about the year of collaboration, which it's true, because if you don't know, we practically had so many collabs with so many different writers, including the Guda Guda. The back then Guda Guda, so it's pretty awesome. It says there was a lot of collab. So yeah, the interviewer asked, there's a lot of collab for certain. Was this planned from the very beginning? So Mr.2 says 予定はしていました。もちろん5年の時点で9年で5周年の時点で9周年はこんなことをと具体的には計画していたではわけじゃないんですが、サーベントと準備期間もするし、1年から1年半前からにはある程度固まっていました。そこはタイプムーンさんと確実にスケジュールを決めていましたので、そのため8周年を終えたタイミングでゲストライターさんに参加していただいた聖杯戦線が大きなイベントとなり、その後のフェイトサムライレムネントやコラボや総称2が来るなど魔法使いの夜以下魔法用のコラボとか展開がセットで見えていたのです。そういった取り組みをうまくゲームとして開発させていくことができて大きなテーマになった年ですね。So, The interviewer asked, there was a lot of collaboration this year. Was this planned from the very beginning? It says the plan was definitely there. Of course, it wasn't like was planned super prehended. Like we knew exactly what ninth year was going to be at our fifth year. That wasn't the case. It wasn't super solid until about a year and a half ago on each market. But to an extent, we were preparing ourselves with the servant lineups and simultaneously had things kind of uh, dotted down to an extent. So we started to more solidify this plan from about a year to a year and a half ago. And we made sure that we discussed with the Type Moons, the Type Moon people to make sure that our schedule was in order without any problems, and that was made. And that's why, starting from the 8th anniversary timing, there was a lot of the guest writer joining in, starting from the newest Holy Grail War, Grail Frontline, became a big event. And on top of that, we had the Fate Samurai Remnant collab, and then Sosho 2. And then on top of that, have Mahoyo, aka Witch on the Holy Night. Collaboration setup was kind of based up on it, just kind of, stacked up on it. そういった取り組みをうまくゲームとして展開させていくことが大きなテーマになった年ですね。So it says that practically kind of became the theme of this year and making sure that the game functioned and stably moved forward on these big tournament events was this year's motif. 9年から FGO 自体が加速したというか、厳密になったような感覚があるのですが、それは10年も続いていくのでしょうか。22年頃からイベントを修復するタイミングを変えたことや、期間限定イベントの解消の延長、各イベントコスに追加する機能を増やしたり、ことでそう感じしていただけかなと思います。あえて密度を上げていく方針にはなっていて、特に9年に限ったことではなく、今後も続いていく予定です。Okay. So the interviewer asked, right? From ninth year, I feel like FGO has sped its course, or not really sped its course, but more dense in content of sorts, is how I feel. Will this continue 10th year and onward, or was this ninth year special? Yeah, by the way, if you guys don't know, Fate Stay Night Remastered is available as soon as Famitsu was also available. So, also, I believe it's 10% on Steam. It's 10% on Switch. I don't know if it's 10% on Steam. 10% on both? Good, good. Starting 2022. Starting 2022, we changed what we were going to do with rerun events, simultaneously increasing the due date on the events, and then starting date and their end dates, and added additional event functionalities and other sort of things. I feel like to an extent we have accelerated or even densified FGO to an extent. We wanted to make sure the capability and fun was increasing, and it's not just the ninth year. That was it. We want to make sure that we would like to continue this motive and this direction for the years to come. So essentially, TLDR, the interviewer asked, I feel like starting from the ninth year, right, which the end of the 8th anniversary is technically the ninth year, he felt like FGO started to go faster, more denser, more in depth, right? And so Mr.2 says, ever since we changed our direction towards rerun events, normal events cost 3 weeks, and then each event has their own special circumstances right now. He feel like they have increased the density of the FGO to an extent, Um, they don't want to make it just the ninth year's motive, but the 10th year and onward as well. All right, so Mr. 2 says something special here. It's highlighted in blue. 来年は10周年という肝でもあり、さらに優勝という大事なポイントを迎えに行くこともなるので、チームとしても非常に楽しみであり、気を引き締まる年になっていくかなと思います。So it says next year will be our 10th year, our flag point. And on top of that, we're going to have our final chapter. It's a very important point that we're going to be welcoming. And as a team, it is very, we're very excited to see this happen. And it's definitely a year that we need to pull everything we can as possible. So essentially, Mr. 2 is preparing himself for the 10th year. And I do like a little miniature point here. Right here. He doesn't say end of a chapter. He says it's an important point. A last chapter is a very important point. So it's very interesting. I like that. I like that. It's a nice way of saying, hey, FGO's not ending. Not anytime soon. Yes, and then so here's the interview. You don't think FGO is dense? Um he meant dense as in like there's more shit to do on events. Like if you don't know, a lot of the FGO events now, there's at least like a 1 to 2 gimmick every time of FGO now, right? In the event wise. That's what he's explaining by dense. Dense as in not slow. Dense as in thick. Like thick. There's a dense amount of content. And that content to him is also reading, right? Reading, lore, and content, reading, lore, plus gameplay. Which is like you guys will get to see it in the Gouda Gouda, right? Like for instance, the summer event, right? Summer event, you guys got yourself the little feature, raising your little booth so you can get free shit. In the next event on NA, Gouda Gouda, you guys get your tea action, right? So you guys gonna get to make tea. So you gotta farm shit to make a specific tea that you want to get the specific items that you want. And then afterwards, you've got a couple of events, including the Valentine's Day. Um, Valentine's Day has all voice lines now. White Day now has voice CEs. And on top of the voice CEs, I believe you can stack two people together on a background. And that's what he's saying. The interviews that things have gotten more intense, things have gotten more dense, more thick, more strong into content. So, moving on. Uh, Yeah, because if you don't know, starting to 22, right? Mr. 2 does say that starting from 2022, which technically is you guys on NA, all the events are now 3 weeks. There is no rerun until we get a vote, right? And then on top of that, we've gotten a additional event functionalities left and right. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the lore does get a little bit easier to read as the year goes on. And we're gonna be able to be reading easier because a lot of people definitely didn't read every single summer lore just because people got sick and tired of reading because Nasu and the others were just cooking. So here it is. It says when it comes to event restoration, aka rerunning the event timing, was it? Oh yeah. What was your motive? Why did you change the timing of the reruns, and why did you change it the way you did? Back in the day, we usually just reran an event roughly around 1 to 2 years later, but 2年後というタイミングで復興していましたが、それぞれのユーザーさんが期待していることも異なると思うので、一度今までの運営を変えようと思ったきっかけです。Oh, interesting. Usually, yeah, we ran it 1 to 2 years. That was our timing. And I'm pretty sure the user base started to expect it. And because of this, I wanted to change up the development style just a bit. Was the start of all this. As a developer and as a staff members, we definitely wanted to bust out something new, more new. Yeah, more new than keep constantly running reruns. And if they wanted to run a rerun, we would definitely want the user base to have a strong feeling towards it and give us what they want us to specifically rerun on. I think giving this as not only a surprise to the user, but a surprise to us as well will be a very intricate part, was our core target. それも含めて皆さんの想像しないところでいろいろなサプライズを行うということを心がけた1年だと思います。It says on top of that, we wanted to definitely surprise you all to where you didn't expect, where things you didn't really expect to be able to be improved. That was the year we definitely wanted to go forward this year, each year. Now that we've gone to ninth year, now that we've gotten to our ninth year, I believe you guys feel like some of the timings are starting to get aligned together, and you guys are starting to anticipate, correct? It says we want to make sure that we act as a development staff and development staff of FGO, but simultaneously in a good taste, give you guys full of surprises and have fun, so it'll be entertaining for all of us. All of us overall. Okay. So the interviewer asked, "Why did you change the rerun timings, and what was your intentions and intentions and meanings?" So Mr.2 specifically talks about usually the pattern was 1 to 2 years. We had a we had a rerun or two, but I believe people started to expect it, aka started to stagger for it. So we also wanted to also change up the dev styles as well. As a developer and creators of these games, we wanted to make more new things, and I wanted all of us to make new things as a fun little gimmick. And simultaneously, if the rerun was a necessity, we would want the users to pick out the event that they all wanted in the most. And then that could have been our that is technically our surprise for not only us but for them as well. That was the core target. And our job now is to make sure that we give you guys surprises where you guys don't see or even vision before. Was definitely the year that we tried to pull off. Like for instance, we get story for Grail Front, right? Even though we know that the story of Grail Front was gonna come, we didn't expect it to be that much of a banger. Um, at the same time, we got like events, collab events on top of events on the top of events. Simultaneously, character that didn't exist for like 14 years fucking comes into FGO. It's kind of wild. So yeah, ninth year was definitely a fun little surprise. And so on top of that, we got Summer CL, so like, and Summer Rush Google, so let's fucking go. And then he specifically stated that we want to still act like FGO development team but at the same time, we want to give you guys good, tasteful surprises to run on full throttle, which is pretty good. So no G spotted, yeah, that too. The problem is the chance of getting CEs and stuff, though. Well, don't worry about it, right? If you've watched my 9th anniversary stream, they are slowly but surely putting back old CEs, including the newer ones, into the mana slash rare prism shop. So you're gonna get more of those later on in life, especially the event CE ones. But simultaneously, you're gonna have a gotcha rerun banner anyway. So you shouldn't worry too much about those gotcha CEs. Because if you go look back, right, we just had our summer rerun banners for both season year 1 all the way to year 8. Go back to those summer gotchas. We got all of them. So don't worry. They're still thinking. They are still cooking. You say the event CE is gone forever. It really isn't. They're slowly bringing it back with the banners. We're waiting for Chiffon release? Yes, one day Chiffon. Ninth Year 9年目で印象的に残るストーリーや期間限定イベントについて聞かせてください。メインだと総称にもあるのですが、それと同じくらい印象的だったのが魔法よコラボでしたね。ちなみに魔法よコラボは総称よりも新機能が多く非常に大変でした。Only one, number one, shiny star で。Oh, yeah! Speaking of only one, number one, Destiny fucking gotcha shit. Somebody. somebody memed our current situation. Somebody currently memed that situation with servant coins. It says we got more functionalities, right? We got more functionalities to our waifus and husbandos, but the problematic factor is that we needed more servant coins. Because if you read the event, only one and number one, in order to produce your wishes, next level shit had to happen. Next level shit had to happen. So it was pretty funny. So let's talk about the 9th anniversary. Mr. Kano, could you tell us about the story or the limited events that you have permanently impressioned on during this 9th year? If you're talking about main story, of course, it's the Sosho 2, aka Ido. But as almost, if not more impressionable, was definitely the Mahoyo collab. By the way, Mahoyo collab had more functionality needed to be added into the game than the newest Ido. The newest main chapter of the story. So it was quite rough and quite tough time. Quite the hurdle we had to go over. For an example, only one slash number one shiny star battleストーリーの上で重要な演出をバトルの最初に入れ込んだものそうですし、青子がスーパー青子に変化するなどの素質もあって、いろいろとてあてといろいろてんとてんこ盛りでしたからね。イベント全体で言うとものすごくいや作量が多かったです。So yeah, essentially saying that during the beginning of the story, a very important battle, motions, and videos needed to come out. At the same time, Alco turning to Super Alco was definitely a materials and scriptures and backgrounds needed. It was quite the it was quite a lot of things stacked on together into this event for it to make it happen and to make it as amazing as it was. As the event for itself, we definitely had to work quite the effort to make it happen the way it did. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, like for instance, at the beginning of the event, right, like minor spoilers, there was no sound. There was no color. There was no sound. At the very beginning of the event. That's on purpose. It's on purpose. That was on purpose. Like the very beginning of the battle, they had no color, no sound, and we had to battle it out because that was the whole point, and you'll get later why that was the case. And at the same time, like the event went on, they added like additional wind effect. They added a minor color effect to a larger color effect, and then at the end of the battle, like the final battle, we had like this whole fucking orchestra, lights lit up like fucking crazy. It was pretty cool. And then yeah, changing Alco to Super Alco, that itself, like had to change seasons and animations and megabytes like wildfire. Oops, excuse me. So, yeah, interviewer also have stated, oops. The interviewer have also stated that as a player, witnessing it definitely felt like you've all had quite a hard work on yourselves. It was amazing, which I do agree. プロジェクト内にも魔法屋が好きな多いので短距離時間で熱い熱量を込めて作られてきました。私自身、せめて自分の後はもう最後までクリエイトとした時にはクリアした時はやりきった感覚がすごかったです。シャイニースター線でグレーの色が、So he specifically talks about the thing that I just explained here. So, and yeah, the interviewer specifically says there was a lot. Yeah, there was a lot of effort definitely shown and pushed and love in the event. As a player, I felt it for sure. And Mr. Kano answers, within this Mahoyo event project, there were a lot of Mahoyo lovers, aka the people who enjoyed Witch on the Holy Night. So in a short time, we were able to have amazing amount of passion and an amazing amount of effort being created this amazing product. I myself simultaneously, on my own time, able to clear the event to the very end. I definitely felt like an accomplishment of sincere and happiness at hand. During the final fight of the shining stars, from the gray color circumstances, little by little, little by little, color started to come back, and an amazing display of animation being played out was pretty awesome. The very difficult battle, yes. The arch nemesis or the last boss of the last battle. 価値観があると言いますか、戦っていて異常に楽しいシチュエーションでしたね。It says it definitely felt like you've won the battle, but on top of that, it was a fun little situation while fighting. It was pretty funny. Yes. So Mr.2 answers, our entire goal was that it was a last battle and needed to be intense. But at the same time, we definitely wanted to clear it as fun as we could. Like, for instance, at first you only heard the wind sound effects, but little by little, the BGM started to hit in, felt really wonderful, and really glad that it was accomplished just like that. And I really think this event was definitely one of the awesomest and the more satisfying one that we've created. For my personal opinion, as a user base opinion, I believe it was the best. It was best event 1 to 2過去1、2を争うくらい好きなイベントになりました。So Mr.2 officially has put Mahoyo event as top 3, which is understandable. Speaking of Mahoyo, Now Mahoyo is available everywhere around. それが FGO の中でもできる限りマホヨを再現していたような印象を受けました。It says Mahoyo is known by its amazing pictures and their music. I sincerely feel like you've all done your very best within FGO to recreate Mahoyo's feelings as much as I can, much as you could was the impression I got. That's the interviewer asking Mr. Kano. Mr. Kano specifically says that is 100% true. Um, yeah, when it comes to the scripting of Mahoyo, my definitely favorite part was the main script. 一番好きな方がメインスクリプトを担当して、独占のキャラ、選手を再放送として、スクリプターの中でも、マホヨを一番好きな方がメインのスクリプトを担当して。So, the person who loves Mahoyo the most was in charge of scripting this event. So, therefore, they were doing their very best to get characters' emotions and expressions and feelings recreated into the game as best as they could. It says we definitely wanted some of the characters to have their backs turned and talk about it the way they did, but as a player, it felt a little off. プレイヤーとしての在用感を感じることで個人的には応用しないのですが、そういった表情も魔法用だからこそそのものですし、スクリプターもやりたい放題。Yeah, so like he's specifically talking about like for instance, this person you see a black silhouette. It's essentially it's pointing towards him and he's talking to him, right? The effect is like that. So Mr.2 is specifically talking about those type of things, right? The character is showing your back at you while you're the reader reading this conversation, actually seen as a conversation. When the player happens, it felt it felt like you're witnessing a conversation, but it felt a little off as an FGO player. So personally, they didn't personally add more to it than that. But these expression was definitely shown in Mahoyo, and because the story has Mahoyo involved in it, it fits right in. And simultaneously, the person who was the lead scripter wanted to do it, therefore we attempted it. And that is why that is why our goal was to show and express Mahoyo-like script and feeling towards the event. So yeah, so if you don't know, there's a lot of Mahoyo. They kind of do this where black silhouette talking to a scene silhouette kind of has given you guys the feeling of you're kind of looking at a shoulder overview of a conversation, which is really cool. And then yeah, Mr.2 specifically says the lead scripter wanted to make this happen, so he did it. It says the shoulder, right, the back shown dark silhouette. I feel like it's really good for resource management, in my honest opinion, though. リソース的には対応できる範囲で言ってるんだというのが感じられました。So it says when it comes to back silhouette of their and their back shots, I feel like you guys were using as much as resources you could to use it as much as you can. It says yes. Of course, we couldn't, right? We couldn't afford to have every single character and every single new characters have a dark backside silhouette. But because we know we wanted to make it happen, the scripters knew, and it was definitely worth the attempt to do it with the ones we had. Okay. So, Mr. Essentially, the interviewer said it felt like not a lot of this was happening as much as they can. Like a lot of the whatchamacallit NPC had it, but not a like Alco, not a lot of Sono G kind of had this sort of thing. Like Protag didn't have it. Like Mash didn't have it. Not Mash. Yeah, it was Mash. couple other new, older characters didn't get it. And so yeah, he understands. Mr.2 also understands, but he wanted to make sure the scripter answers scripter's call and actually still pull some of off. 4人の立ち絵が表示されている場面もそれぞれ妙な角度やこれ以上に違ってこれまでの FGO にあまりのない空間差の仕上がったように見えます。So, Interviewer specifically says the four people having their standing pictures in motion, the peculiar angles and the step sides, right? Like if you've seen the show, like if you played the event, you'd understand how complex the picture is because whenever we're talking to somebody, somebody's always at an angle in a background. And then if we're going to talk to somebody else, the background also rotates a bit. But it's a completely new picture and then kind of talks to that person. It was pretty awesome. And you would always see the character portrait kind of like if you see how he's turning that way, right? Like you know how he's turning that way. If he's having like a actual one-to-one conversation with you, he actually has his direction moved this way. So like you see a lot of flip-flops on these models, but because of flip-flop of the models, you can clearly see the character's movement or their direction of conversation, which was pretty awesome. It says, yeah, not a lot of FGO has pulled that animation illusion off, right? Or picture illusion off. そういうお声の表情表現なものは普段あまりやっていない部分なのですが、みんながここで話しているんだよというのを伝えたいときには、マホヨでの演出を参考にして近距離感を意識したり、放置にして空気感を出すようにしています。So Mr.2 specifically says, in FGO, we don't do a lot of this illusion of sort, but in Mahoyo, we used Mahoyo as references, right? Mahoyo's style and its animation as references to make sure that people are having a conversation. People are whispering to each other, or people are suggesting things in a certain manner, or yelling things out loud. We used references of Mahoyos to purposefully engage and understand the distance and the atmosphere was definitely in mind while creating the script. 今後も魔法用コラボのようなスクリプトを期待してしまうのですが、そのあたりはいかがでしょう？ It says, by showing us the Mahoyo collab, we definitely expect more of this type of script being played out in FGO. Will this happen later in the future? 会社のポジションの表情については、アトランティスやオリンポスあたりから強化しておるので、表現をうまく作っておかないと難しいんです。ただ、最初にスクリプターの方でポジションを読み替えて、それの表情でできるようなカメラワークをするというのは恥詰めずっと試しています。もちろん表現のレベルを上げるとその分制作時間も必要になってくるので、ある程度強弱をつけていく必要はあると思います。So the interviewer specifically asked, the Mahoyo collab was such a banger, and the script and the positioning of the characters and their expression was so phenomenal. Can we expect more of that in the future content of the main story and main event? Mr.2 answers this by specifically saying, when it comes to conversations and positioning of expressions, we've started to additionally strengthen that from Atlantis and Olympus. However, things are very difficult if the background is not created to set that motion, decently. However, we have started to put scripters to put the position 最初にスクリプターの方でポジションを読み書いてそれを表現できるようなカメラワークスをするというのははじめずっと試しています。 So it's essentially Mr. 2 is saying that the scripter's writing the position of the where the conversation will take place, and then using the expression itself and making sure that the camera works adjust to that expression to fit more complex and detailed motif they are constantly experimenting on. Because if you've seen the newest event, the Parfait event, they kind of did a lot of that very decently. And then Mr. 2 specifically says, of course, in order for us to level up even further, we need to increase the expression levels as well. However, if we go too much onto that, the amount of expression needed and time to create those will definitely come into play as well. So we definitely have to balance things out to an extent. So yeah, Mr. 2 is saying that while they are working to improve upon it, they also have to worry about not to have too much expression because it will take a longer time to create that character or that entire settings because they'll be all working on each individual expression of the NPCs, main character, etc., etc. So he's saying that there is going to be a balance of sort that they are doing. Mahoyo Collab. マホヨコラボでは変身や全体攻撃が可能な青子さんの機能面接でもバランス成長が苦労されたではないでしょうか。青子さんはタイプーン作品の中でも重要なキャラなので常に議論内を重ねましたね。ただ変身すると全体攻撃ができるようになるというのは結構前から決まっていましたのよ。その前の前哨ではないんですが、その手前のタイミングにユー・オルガ・マリーがいたので、ここでミを見まして、すべての新機能を圧縮するというタイミングではあったんです。実質2キャラ、実質2キャラクター分作っていたので、バランス調整は本当に大変でした。Oh, true, true. So, the interviewer specifically asked for the Mahoyo, right? During the Mahoyo collaboration, transformation and all AoE auto attacks was a functionality of Miss Aoko when it comes to balancing and adjusting and tweaking her tweaking her entire existence. I bet it was quite difficult to handle. And then Mr. 2 specifically answers it by saying that Miss Alco, within the Type Moon, she is a very important character. So we definitely did our due diligence. However, after transformation, her auto attacks becomes AoE. That was already been set in motion from a very long time ago. It wasn't like it was decided before her creation, but we had a good example beforehand, like the timing that we had you, Olga Murray. So we wanted to make sure that we use that functionality as a test drive and make sure that we did everything we could to condense the new functionality as we could at that time to make sure that function was functioning correctly. That was the timing we definitely wanted to go by. Simultaneously, we had to create 2 characters worth to create Miss Alco. So balancing and adjustments and tweaking things surely was difficult. It says that is true. During Mictoram, you were able to use temporarily you Olga Murray came into fruition, I see. It seems that Miss Alco's functionality is being solidified in stone. Yeah, you guys kind of, yeah. Wait, how do you read that one? 要聴有制度があったのでしょうか。機能そのものは大きく変わるわけではなかったのですが、バランス試しにはせめぎ合いがありました。 変身の宝具のために1ターン少々してしまうので、時間をかけて強くなる分、最大ダメージをどれくらいに跳ねさせるかという調子は多分重ねた部分ですね。Okay. So that now I get the question then. By Miss Alco's functionality being decided, was there a decision making, like discussion, breaking backs here and there occur? The functionality to transfer wasn't that big of a deal. However, when it came to balancing, we definitely had a hard discussion for it. So it's essentially they kind of fought a little bit. They kind of had an argument talking about the balance side of things. After all, once you transform her with your noble phantasm, you do lose one turn worth of effort. So we wanted to make sure that while she gets stronger as the time goes by, we wanted to make sure what kind of limit she will be able to dish out as max damage, and just adjust and balance it was definitely our hardest point. I bet calculating AoE damages amount and MP gain and what's up definitely came into a difficult salt grain adjustments, didn't it? Mr. 2 answers yes. ユーオルガマリーで知っている形を上京することが分かりやすいと思われることから、仕業は引き続き全体攻撃を持った上でのサーベント全体の強さバランスに一番注入しています。実際した後にも変身時にコマンドカードが変わることで扱いづらい面も残してしまい、ユーザーの方には申し訳なくなったと思います。Oh, he even talks about so yeah, the MP damage amount and the MP gain adjustments were very difficult, I bet. And then it was very difficult to adjust and understand and calculate. So it says, yeah, that is quite correct. You Olga Murray, knowing Yuga Olga Murray's knowledge and test, the functionality it was Oh yeah, the functionality was given away, and then Suzuki. ユーオルガマリーで知っている形を散乱することで分かりやすいと思われることから、仕事作業は引き続き全体攻撃を持った上でのサーベント全体の強さバランスにも一番注入しています。So Mr. Kano is specifically saying that when it comes to this MP gain and damage amount of AoE and etc., they are putting more efforts than you Olga Murray, because you Olga Murray is just buster, so she don't gain MP. Because when we released her, when she transformed, the command card also changes, and because of that, it was very difficult for the first players to understand this, and we feel a bit sorry for the user base. So, Mr. 2 specifically acknowledges that, because if you guys don't know, the Alcos card and Super Alcos card, the card variant changes once she turns into Super Alco. And so he does acknowledge that when transforming, command card does change to an extent. So it does kind of make it a bit difficult for the newer users to understand the command card changes for the transformation. So he feels a bit bad about it that he can't really simplify that down, right? Because if you don't know, Alco, there is a way to read it correctly, right? There is a read it to read it correctly, which command card could definitely help with your card reading, which is pretty cool for Alco, because one of the command card actually changes color. from like I think it was Buster to Arts or Arts to Buster. It might be vice versa, but you could tell which card it got changed by the command code, which is pretty cool. But it is very difficult for a newer player to discuss. So from here, they're going to be talking about explanations and giving us alignments before the 10th Annie. Yeah, functionalities and sub attributes, right? The quote unquote, like we can now, if you guys don't know, in FGO, we can officially see the alignments now, finally, after millions of years. It's Buster to Arts. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so Mr.2 kind of feels bad that not a lot of people can, like for us, if you've been in our stream and kind of discussing about it, we now know how to function with Alco better because all you need to do is put that Buster command card with a command code. And then you'll know card counting once more because you know exactly what card is going to change into arts, and you can kind of jury rig it to make it into arts, which is pretty cool, by the way. But yeah, getting to 10th year, alignments, and more. What command code should I use on her? Let me finish reading this, and then I'll discuss about Alco and what kind of command code she should get. Mostly crit, though. Mostly crit. Because Alco is such a attack-oriented character, most of the time it's crit. So yeah, from the ninth year forward, a lot of event limited servants functionality I feel like have tremendously increased in its aptitude. Essentially, he's saying, hey, ever since the ninth year started, a lot of servants that are limited got insane fucking gimmicks. When it comes to gimmicks, いや、機能に関しては、タイムーンさんとの協力会議の上で、協会の上で決めており、最近配布サーベントが様々なシチュエーションで性能を発揮できるようにしています。まず最初に第7章における配布サーベントでも乗り切っていけるように、性能を上げていった一部でもあります。やはりプレイヤーとして一番のご褒美になるのは配布サーベントだと思います。イベントを遊んでくれた方に対してしっかり活動できるサーベントが手に入れてきた方がいいだろうと思って思いもあって性能の基本が昔よりも高くなっているかもしれません。Oh, what a fucking base comment, Mr.2. That's you've won my vote already. So essentially, from the ninth year, a lot of the limited servants, including welfares, have a lot of gimmicks, and I feel like their functionality increased tremendously, is what I felt. That's the interview said. Can you explain that? And so Mr.2 says, yes, when it comes to functionality, we always discuss this Mr. Type Moon, right? Type Moon, owner of FGO, technically, and Fate and Type Moon franchise. While we go with a conversation and discussions and committee for it, recently, the welfare servants, we definitely wanted to make sure these servants shine in their own situations in own different ways. Starting with the 7th 当時は第7章に向けて配布 at the very beginning we wanted to give out a welfare servants that can beat what's chapter 7? Is chapter 7 Babylonia or was that Camelot? I'm assuming that's Babylonia. Yeah, I think chapter 7 is Babylonia. So yeah, at the very first, we wanted the welfares to able to at first our goal was to make sure that the welfare servants can overcome chapter 7, aka Babylonia. But I believe it was the best reward for our players is a welfare servant. Because you guys played the event, and because you guys played the event, we wanted to give out a very good welfare functionality that is イベントで遊んでくれた方に対してしっかり活動できるサーバントが入手してからいいだと思っていて、性能と基本が昔より高くなっているかもしれません。So yeah, Mr.2 says, I believe the greatest rewards for a player base is a welfare servant. While playing the event and finishing it and enjoying it, at the same time, in the end, having a servant capability of doing a lot of things, I believe is the best way to the best way as a reward. And so probably comparing it to a couple years ago, I believe their basic functionality and their gimmick has increased in depth because of it. So TLDR, Mr.2 is specifically saying at first welfare was made in order to beat LB7. But Mr.2 saying that welfare is one of the greatest rewards that a player can get and should get. So as over the years gone, they made it so that the welfares are more elaborate and more useful and more able to function and shine in additional different situations. So Mr.2 does admit that the welfares are getting better over the years. It's because Mr.2 wants you to have a good welfare as a servant because he thinks that's one of the greatest rewards to play the events. And then Mr. Interview asked, will you continue with that direction in the future? It says yes. 下げていく予定はありません。Yeah, we're definitely not planning to lower that expectation anytime soon. とはいえ FGO は急激なインフレを招かないように使い勝手を考えながら使い手段を考えながら調整してるので、そういった方向も踏まれて性能になるとは思います。So Mr. 2 says, however, FGO has inflation, right? FGO can have a sudden inflation of OPness, and because of the combinations and whatnot. So we are constantly thinking of how this character can be utilized and adjusted accordingly. And they need to make sure that like while it's not going to change that direction, understand that the gimmick might change and like depending on circumstances things will vary, right? But he is saying that servants are gonna get better and have a more complex usefulness in the event. All right, so AKA welfare gonna get better over the years. Let's go. 1987 の属性してくれる。It says it's been 9 years now, Mr. 2, and we can now see the alignments of the servants. Can you give us a reason why did that topic come out? Thank you. タイプムーンさんとの会議中でそろそろ出してもいいのではないかと以前から話には出ていたことなんですよ。大きなきっかけになったのがマホヨコラボで青子も遠坂遠坂でアリスも遠崎アリスも遠崎でアリスも再臨によって属性や副属性が変わりますよね。それがゲーム内で確認できないのは良くないだろうということで、コラボが始まる前に機能をつけました。Well, you can thank Mahoyo. You can thank Mahoyo Collab for the alignment view for FGO. Because apparently they did have a discussion. They did have a discussion with Mr. Type Moon that it's high time to bust that out already. The biggest reason that they were able to push this through was during Mahoyo collab, Aoko and Alice, depending on their ascensions, their attributes and their alignments would definitely change. And for that to not be able to confirm it in game, I believe was not a good thing. And we were able to use that to push that functionality before the collab started. So make sure you guys thank Mahoyo for the alignment view because Mr.2 needed another bullet or like another reason, and Mahoyo was the good reason that Type Moon said okay. コラボが大きなきっかけであったということは、今後のゲームシステム的に複属性は複属性が重なって重要になってくるということはないのですね。そうですね。サーベントの個性を理解していただく上で、魔法用コラボがタイミングとしてちょっと良かったなということになります。So it says, because of the collaboration was a big gimmick, are we to expect that more sub attributes and alignments were to be implemented into the game system because it's going to get super important? It says, well, it's just that Mahoyo collab timing was perfect to push this upgrade, and simultaneously, we do like to want the player base to know servants' personalities and understand them further into the future. So, is this the next page before? Yeah. バージョン1.2担当した先生 So we got Holy Grail War Talk, Aquamarine Battle, new challenge towards the final chapter, and feelings for 10th anniversary and the beginning of the second season end. Seems that the interview doesn't get to question servant coins. But he's definitely trying to hint at it. There's no like big words of like, hey, what the fuck is wrong with servant coins? But he's definitely roundabout saying it by saying system and functionality. Okay. And we'll get there. We'll get there. Have you already translated the huge text for Nasu Battlebear? Not yet. I'm probably gonna do it today. I'm probably gonna do it today because right now I'm gonna do the Nasu interview and then I'm doing the Nasu Takeuchi interview with Mr.2. I'm just about to finish Mr.2 interview. But before, let me eat some ice cream so I can recharge my brain cell. I've been only just started recently using Shiki Welfare, and I'm super impressed with her. She's useful for insta-kill, and her damage is nice. I agree. So we can all cope, guys. We can all cope that the 4-star caster at the end is Ida's field. We can just cope for that. I've been on Reddit reading what peeps have been saying about Anniversary. Well, that's your first problem, Dapper. You've been reading Reddit, listening to people's garbage. About Anniversary and the current state of the game, and while their opinions are understandable and even valid, they can sometimes be a ill teeny bit tinsy bincy negative about it. Nah, bruh. Get out of there. FGO Reddit is nothing more than toxic, friend. Get out of there. That's all I can say. Just understand. See? Thank you. LOO Licks. Yeah, Lolix. I like what he commented. Remember, social media, the more you bitch, the more attention you'll get. So, and more it feels like a lot of people are agreeing to it. But they're just looking at that, you know. And some people circle jerk it. Some people try to add to that negativity. Most of it, it's meta to be negative because you get an attention. And if you get attention, a lot of the internet peeps think they won the war. So it is what it is. I never go on Reddit. Yeah, it is what it is, right? Like, well, I'd shit talk it. You're gonna see a lot of those social medias. If you concentrate enough to it, you're gonna see the stinker, right? And simultaneously, chat. What do you want to see, right? Do you want to see? It's the same concept of reading the news, right? You're gonna pay attention to a house that's on fucking fire, like 50 minutes away from you than a four dogs getting rescued from a tree, okay? That shit, unfortunately, humans have been hardwired to see tragedy more than happiness. So that's why you don't watch the news because the news is nothing but depression, right? And simultaneously, it's the same thing with FGO. Nobody gives a fuck when people says, "Hey, it was pretty good Annie." Hey, by the way, new functionality. If you need to farm chat, you don't have to look up a guide anymore. Because if you need that certain map, if you beat every single story, that specific map, it will show you the optimal farming site in game, right? It's a fucking awesome technique, right? And at the same time, we got ourselves a Um, yeah, we essentially know where to farm, how to farm. We now have alignments. On top of that, GSSR, Destiny. So essentially, you only need to spend super little, right? Super little. We're talking about less than 50 bucks to get a chance of at least two SSRs. That's going to cost you about, like, what? $400 now, right? $400 because the ceiling is permanent. So we now can hit pity left and right. There's a lot of good upgrades that ninth anniversary provided us, but a lot of people would complain about just the coins, right? And while the coins had been a problem since day one, it should not ruin the 99% of FGO getting better by the moment. Where's the auto battle? I don't know why you want an auto battle. That's just KW, friend. Like, it if you add auto battle to the game, why play the game, right? Right, that's like you writing this entire story, right? If you write this entire story of how amazing, how great this fucking, it's a story of a hero saving the day, and somebody goes, TLDR, please. I'm not going to buy your product. TLDR, please. And you're not going to make any money. Whoever made the story feels like a dumbass. And you're just spitting in their face. Just farm. Just farm. The fastest auto farm is 3 turns. So make a 3 turn comp that you have and just farm that node, no problem. You've got all your berserkers. You've got all your booty blasters. You can it doesn't take 15 minutes of your life to click 9 buttons and clear that node. My Koyanska has already bond 15. Well, then find somebody else, right? Maybe gotcha. Or have you thought of this? Ready? Ready? Screw bonds, right? If that person is your waifu, right? You shouldn't care if she's bond 15, right? You will still use her. It'll be inefficient, sure, but who cares, right? It's your waifu. Or are you just going to put her into the second archive because she reached bomb 15 and then you're going to find a new waifu? Right? Because it's easy to farm couple APs, right? Because right now you can do maybe about 7 rotations, right? Because it's 20 AP each. So you can do about 7 rotations, depending on where you do it, right? If you're feeling lazy, farm some statues. If you're not feeling lazy, 3-turn that shit with just Black Grail, 50% charge, Friend Oberon, double Oberon, Booty Blast, right? It's not that hard. If you want to farm, now, Shin, you gotta understand, the person just wants auto farm, right? If you're going to farm a mat for farming's sake, I understand. But if you're farming for the mat's sake, that's a volition you've taken onto yourself, right? It's not the game's job to fucking change your diapers. Because games will give you events, games will give you hunting quests, they'll give you advanced quests so you can farm your mats easier later on, right? So, I mean, like, if you're complaining about game needs to auto farm, that's like, why play the game, right? Like, let me get this macro on this cookie clicker. I'll be back in like 10 minutes. And guess what? Most of the game is trash. Most of the game is not is forgotten, isn't it? Right? Name every game currently that has auto farm that's on the top of the sales list right now. On the sales chart. On top of the sales chart. Is Withering Wave auto farm? Hawkeye Star Rail. Does Hawkeye Star Rail have auto farm? Ah, that's cool. That's cool. That's good to know. I'm glad that a Honkai Star Rail has auto farm. So let me ask you something. How much rewards do you get on a Honkai Star Rail? We call it the fun button. Oh yeah. I got you. So if if you have an auto farm button, that means that if there's no events, all you need to do is you log in, you click on this auto farm button, and you just go to another game. Right? Is that how it goes? It's bare minimum, but don't save that much time because the game playing itself doesn't skip battles. Oh, pfft. That's funny. So wait. You say you have auto farm, but you still have to watch the farm? What? Wait. What? Are you stupid? What? You're wasting the exact same time. If both farm requires 5 minutes, you are staring at the screen for 5 minutes. It autopilots. It doesn't skip. Oh, I got you. So you rather be watching porn on the side and your Honkai Star Rail getting back shots while your auto game is playing play. I got you. It's the same shit. I got you. I see why y'all farm. I got you now. I think I'm on the same page. You don't have to watch it if you're a multitasker. Well, fun fact, Red Procrastinator, right? Can you window? Honkai Star Rail? Can you make it small? Can you make Honkai Rail small? Or is it full screen only? And if so, yeah, I can see why people just do auto farm and then do something else entirely. Then are you really playing the fucking game though? Right? You really playing the game? You can tab out of it? Okay, okay. I play it on PS5. I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry to hear that. You're gonna need like another PlayStation 5 while you gotta farm this game. You think you can do window mode? Yeah, then if you can do window mode, yeah, you just. Why are you playing the game? Hell. So weird. But I can understand, right? But at the same time, if you don't have enough attention spam to do a 5-minute farm on Honkai Star Rail or FGO, are you even playing the game or are you just following a streamer? Or flexing your waifu booty call rolls? Which, by the way, don't you need like MP7/8 for Honkai Star Rail or any of the Mahoyo to get like max level? Just feeding into the rolling addiction, most likely. Alright, I took enough break. Let me read the Grail front. I was talking shit for y'all. I don't care. Honkai Star Rail's alright. I'm just giving y'all shits for funsies. Version 1.1, Holy Grail Front, has now reached version 1.1. How does it feel and afterwards? It says, I wanted to ask you this question. A great scale variant of the Holy Grail Frontline event has finally begun. It says, this time it was a map event of sorts. その中で、聖杯戦線がこう進行しているいう意味では初めての楽しみで、試しみでした。It says, yeah, it was a map event, and on top of that, Holy Grail Front was continuing onward in that sort of meaning. It was our first time attempting it. Essentially, event during the Holy Grail Fronts occurring, right? 3つの城があることがわからないようにするか、各聖杯戦線のバトルで使う背景がほとんど使い回しできないとか、いろいろと苦労はありましたね。一体何枚のマップを書けばいいんだと思いました。そういう話を1年前間から詰め始めて本気で大規模な巨大聖杯戦線をやったらこうなるというものを作ろうという話はライターさんともしていました。1年くらい前から三玉誠さんと打ち合わせしてシナリオも1年以上前からいただいていました。Wait. Yeah, that's what I thought. So the person who did the Typhon, right, aka the Pertom the archer, right? The archer, the interchangeable archer, is the person who made Case File and Elemaloid Adventure. So essentially, in order to hide 3 castles within this entire event, it was very difficult. Because every background we had to use on not only the Grail front, but at the same time, background and conversation, we had quite the struggle. We were asking ourselves, how many maps of the same place did we needed to draw? Lol. While we were discussing that and having fun for about a year and a half ago, we started this project, and the writer who is in charge, Mr. Sanda Makoto, who's the writer and author of Elemaloid Case File and Adventure, We received his scenario from over a year ago, around a year plus ago, in order to create this serious, large-scale grill front war. We also talked about it 1.5 years ago. Okay. And the interviewer asked, "That's quite the pacing. Yeah, that's quite the long time you guys started your project." 他のイベントやメインショーなど進行しつつ、その裏で材料を構成していって、最終的に全てを合流していった感じですね。形ですね。いわゆるスト、いわゆるストラス、ストラテジー、ストラテジー的なマッピングを進みながら、各ポイントで何かが起きているのか、だからこそ、気になるといったところでも、いったところをやっていたので、実は AI も全部作り直しています。Wow! So it says, yeah, we had a lot of events and main scenarios to move forward. So in the back, little by little, we were collecting materials and materials and scripts, and in the very end, we just kind of combined it like alchemy, right? Like just conglomerate it into a pile and made it happen. It was a strategic. Yeah, it was definitely a strategic option for us to make this grill front happen. And at the same time, we wanted to make it a strategy like that each point of the map, at certain points, there were events were to occur. And so things that would occur here and there would have like a cutscenes and whatnot, and we were tying things in together. And because of this, by the way, we recreated our AI once more. Oh shit! So yeah, if you guys don't know, Grailfront AI currently has been remade 4 times. I think it has been remade 4 times. Um, Once was the OG. The second one's to fit the narrative. The third time was BB. Now the fourth time is to fit the event. It's for this event. こんばんは、ラテモカさん。また作り直したのですか? It says, they made it, yeah, so you recreated the AI again. Again, yes, lol. 今回はこれでファイナルアンサーになったと思います。シナリオに合わせて NPC が動くというセッティングがはっきりしていたので、変な動きをしてしまうと、伝えたいことが一気に伝わらなくなるのは分かっていました。なので AI も結構前から別のチームで作って改良を進めており、私も2ヶ月ぐらい缶詰になっていました。それぐらいかけないとできないものでしたし、Damn! Mr.2 was in a fucking tuna can for 2 months as well. 自分たちがもともと考えていた聖杯戦争を作り出そうと頑張っていたのが今回のイベントでした。So he says, yes, again, I believe this time this might be our final answer to the type of event that we want, the AI type we want. We wanted the NPC to move according to scenario. That was the setting we needed to work hard on. And so that setting did not need to falter. So if the AI were to move unexpectedly, the messaging and the event will instantly not be able to convey or have the atmospheric feeling of that certain scenario. And because of that, the AI も結構前から yeah, and because of that, the AI from a very long time, we had a different staff members or different team make it once more and modify it, and I myself involved on this project for 2 months straight. So kanzume means a tuna can, right? Like Mr.2 was also in this shit for 2 months, like he was in a tuna can. So he probably was um, just try harding this AI to work for 2 months straight, which is kind of wild. それぐらいいかないとできないものでしたし、it was something that needs to happen to that caliber in order for us to pull a stunt like this. And simultaneously, we wanted to create our ideal Holy Grail front and did our best was this type of event. And because of that, it finally became version 1.1, 1.0. Is there any more updates to this we should expect going further on this Grail front line? Mr.2 specifically says right there, I believe we do have to come up with a timing for additional upgrade here and there. It says we did create an AI that's now stable. AI などと、AI などもせめて作ったので、小規模な聖杯戦線であればチャレンジするクエストとして作ってみるのはありじゃないかというふうようには思っています。So it says we have this AI ready to go. So I believe we might be able to use this Grail Front War as a challenge quest or a quest that you can challenge on, right? So I believe that's a possibility for the future case, is my opinion. So Mr. 2 is thinking about making Holy Grail Front a challenge quest, which is not too shabby. Um, but he's just saying utilizing that AI as a gimmick, right? He's not saying that he's going to do a challenge quest about it. He's just thinking that if it's a super minute Holy Grail front, right? Super minute Holy Grail front, they might be able to just throw it in as a challenge quest. So essentially, on an event, you might have a challenge quest that's just a small, quick Grail front, right? That's it. Which will be pretty cool. I really do enjoy Purito Mayos giving us battle tactics and a couple of hints and pointers. I think that was very kind of him. 聖杯戦争にはもっとトゥトリアル的な要請を入れて理解してもらった方がより多くのユーザーに楽しんでもらえるじゃないかとサンダさんからお話をいただいた部分です。序盤はプレテマイオスに教えてもらって中盤以降はそれを応用して遊ぶ形になりました。結果として多くの方が遊べるようになってではないかと思います。So, the quote unquote interviewer specifically says, I liked that Pretamayos gave us battle tactics, hints, tricks, and tips. That was very cool, right? And then Mr. 2 answered by saying, Mr. Sanda, the quote unquote, the author who is in charge of the Pretamayos story and also the author of Elmaloid Case File and Journey, he has suggested to us that Holy Grail Frontline should have more tutorial like elements in order for more people to understand it so more users can enjoy it. And we took his advice and implemented as such. At the very beginning, Pureto Mayos would teach us and give us tactics, and from the mid side of the story and onwards, you would utilize the tactics and hints given in order to play the way you want to. As a result, I do believe a lot more people were able to play Holy Grail Front, in my opinion. Aquamurray battle animations and balance difficulties or balance question. オルガマリークエスト2でウェーブがやり直せるようになりました。これは最初から想定いた機能なんですか？当初は10ウェーブやり直さなくても、それほど苦しいすぎないバランスように意識して調整していました。ただ、ユーザーの皆さんから多くの意識があったことと、やはりいざやり直そうと思った時には予想外以上の時間を用意してしまうので、急ぎ計画して実装を進めた時点結果です。Oh, interesting. So it says here, Algamari Quest 2, the waves are now easier to do than ever before. And you can redo the wave if you want to. Was this planned from the very beginning of said function? It says at the very first, we created 10 waves that so that it's balanced enough that you don't have to retry them. That was our consciousness and adjusted it accordingly. However, the user player base has specifically stated, a lot of the user base specifically stated that they wanted to have a redo and they wanted to have checkpoints. And they specifically yelled out that if they wanted to retry or redo, it took a lot longer of a time than they anticipated. So we quickly came up with a plan and made it optimal for the retries and redos to be possible. It says now that it's more playable, I bet the clear rate is higher. Yeah. Can you tell us more about that? Mr.2 specifically says, unfortunately, it's not that high still. やり直しもできるので、空いた時間にはちょっとずつ挑戦してほしいとは考えているのですが、もともと異常コンテンツなものもあって、後でやろうとなっている方が多いのだと思います。It says, so Mr.2 specifically says it's not that high. Even though you can retry and redo, right, some of the waves. Uh, I would like for people who have a spare time to challenge it bit by bit, is what I would hope for. But there are decent amount of contents to do, and those people want to do it later will most likely be the majority of the people thinking about it. So TLDR, aqua clear rate is still low. Interesting. Aqua clear rate is still low, even though you can redo it. Can you give us the details that you went for in this event? The more you go forward into the storm, 嵐の中を進んでいくと最後のアクアマリー戦では橋になっています。そこまではアクアマリーがだんだん漁っていく様子を嵐で表現していて、それに合わせて難易度も上げています。そこは結構こだわった部分ですね。It says the more storm that you go forward, in the very last Aquamarine battle, it's it's like wild. We wanted to make sure the sweatiness, or quote unquote the agitation that the Aquamarine was having every time her brake bar breaks, expressed through the background storm. And we definitely wanted to increase the difficulty while breaking the bar as well. That is definitely the part that we focused our effort to, for sure. フレアマリー戦と比べて苦労したのはどのような部分でしょうか？ Comparing it to the Battle of Flairmury, what was this? What were the things that you were having a hard time adjusting for? And Mr.2 answers,バッジの数とバッジのスキルの調整ですね。今回は10個のバトルでいかにバランスを取っていくかということだけを考えれば良かったのですが、今回習得したバッジの数でバランスがだいぶ変わりますから、またバッジのスキルがどれくらいあればうまく攻略できるかというラインも何度も探っていたので、そこは非常に苦労しました。It says, quote unquote, the difficult part comparing to Flair Murray was the badge numbers and badge skill adjustments. The last one, the Flair Murray battle, was a 10 battle of balance. That was the only thing that you needed to think about it. So we needed to balance the characters and quote unquote each and individual accordingly. But this time you needed to earn badges, and depending on the number of the badges, the balance of the game changes. And we needed to figure out what skill of badges required to conquer it more efficiently of sort. And so we constantly went over and over and over and testing to figure out that to found its balance or its clear motive. We definitely struggle very hard to find that answer. どのくらいのバッジ数でアクアマリンに挑戦無想定なのでしょうか? So it says, how many badges did you anticipate the player base to use in order to fight Aquamarine? 半分しか取っていないと少し難しく、7、8くらい取っていると攻略性が見えていくようなイメージです。It says here, how many badges do you require to get to the Aquamarine was your prediction. It says if you only took half of the if you only took one half of the badges, it's going to look it's going to look a bit difficult. But around 70-80%, you'll able to see a strategy that can be utilized. It says, ただ、ダイブの方はウェーブごとにしっかりとバッジを収入しているようですね。It says, but from what I've seen, most of the waves have been earned. Most of the waves, a lot of the players have earned badge in order to move forward to fight this, Aquamarine. There's 2 more elements left. Will the difficulty increase here on out as well? It says, me and Mr. Tight Moon are going to discuss about this as planned into the future. Each other element will have their own personality played out. And so we will come up with a new gimmick that Flare Murray and Aquamarine does not have. 構成を活用化しないがらクエストを制作します。そのため単純に上がるといえば難易度が上がるといえば必ずしもその要素はないと個人的には考えています。いろいろと発見があった方が楽しいはずなので、単純に強さが上がっているというよりは攻略のベクトルが変わっていくようなイメージです。So the interviewer says, hey, there's 2 more elements. Will it be harder than this ever before? It says, perhaps in a simple term, increasing in difficulty, yes, but in a weird way, we don't want to make it, we don't want to make the difficulty the necessity of this challenge, right? He sincerely believed that finding things out more is more entertaining and fun. So think about it, just instead of just getting harder, think about changing the changing the vector, right? Just come up with a different plan of conquering. Might be the image from here on out. Oh yeah, Mr.2 is saying that the last two might not just be fight, right? It might changing vectors, right? Changing perspectives, changing things up. Because in technicality, the next one should be easy. The problem might be the last one. Chapter 2, Season 2, final chapter. What is the challenge and the things that you are going forward to? So the interviewer asked, by the way, Mr.2, I believe some masters are starting to run out of blue apple seeds. Is there any opportunity we can get to recharge those said blue apple seeds, perhaps? Mr. 2 specifically says, we don't have an exactly said due date, but we are discussing about this circumstances. It says in the near future. So the interviewer always also asked, by the way, in the near future, will Pure Prism exchange rate increase or refresh, or do you have any plans to do anything more to that one? Mr. 2 says, we've already discussing that already beforehand. これも1ユーザーとしての気持ちですが、ピュアプレゼン交換できる数は復活してほしいですね。It says, by the way, this is just my user opinion, but I do wish Pure Prism Trades can refresh its number every so often. Lol. Once we hit 30 million download campaign, perhaps something might show up. Speaking of 30 million downloads campaign, how is the Speaking of 30 million downloads campaign, how far are we? Are we hitting that anytime soon? Let's see. ダウンロード数があってのキャンペーンなので、正直、時間帯的に読み切れないところがあります。当然増えたり逆に伸びなくなったりということを繰り返しているため、近いうちに来るかもしれないくらいの感覚ですね。皆さんあってのお祝いですので。It says the download number. Yeah, the campaign is when we hit the download number. To be perfectly honest, it's something that I even can't read exactly when it can happen. All of a sudden, it can increase, and sometimes it just doesn't grow. And sometimes, sometimes it increases, and sometimes it just doesn't grow. So just think of it as it might come it might come soon. I believe is the feeling that we all should have by now. 逆に伸びなくなったりということを繰り返しているため、近いうちに来るかもしれないくらいの感覚ですね。皆さんあってのお祝いですので。It's a celebration because of you, because of everyone, after all. So Mr. 2 is kind of being vague here. But he is saying that suddenly increase and sometimes just not growing at all. Constantly of this influx occurs. So he's saying it like it might come in later future. Just think of it like that. The anniversary timing update to recharge your command seal to 3. What is the meaning of this? メイン章を進んでいる時に、宝具展開で MP を100をしたり、ユーズ、正規不服でサーバントの HP を回復したりいうシチュエーションがマスター感があって、個人的にすごい好きなんですよ。これまでレイジを温存しすぎて、そういった楽しみを味わえないという方もいるからと思い、終章に向けて、特にメイン章での活用してもらえばと思った、Okay. So it says, yeah, command seals now refreshed 3 a day. What's the meaning of this? What's your angle? It says, whenever you want to continue to the main story, activating a noble phantasm to 100 or healing your HP to 100, these types of situation feels like you are actually in a master in a story feeling personally. So I like it personally, in my honest opinion. So there were many times you wanted to savor your command skill for a pure restart or savor your command skill for a specific situation that you might hold on to. And so we wish that they could use this opportunity to feel like a master and enjoy the functionality more than ever. And in order to continue on forward to the final chapter, especially, we hope you use the command seal in the main story. Was the angle I've had. I heard about streaming guideline changes as well. Can you tell us specifically, Mr.2, about this? Last time, we've discussed with the live stream folks, and we had a conversation with them, and we were allowing up to midway through Solomon was the okay gold line. And so, with the final chapter's announcement timing, we wanted to make it up till Sin, aka LB3. But in the later future, we would like to unlock them little by little. The angle for this is that everybody enjoys the final chapters together. Everybody will have a goal to reach and create a flow that little by little that makes that goal a possibility. That is what I am thinking. 情報公開の範囲を広げることにはいい面も悪い面もあるとは重ねて承知しておりますが、新しい FGO の取り組みになります。So it says we know we know there is positivities and negativities when opening up official information. Yeah, official information. So yeah, it's essentially loosening the leads. There's both good sides and bad sides to it. But I believe this will be our new FGO implementation in the future. So he's saying that I'm pretty sure the reason why it's only up to LB3 is to prevent NA players to fucking not go balls deep crazy. But at the same time, they are preparing little by little to, by the end of what? I think at Valentine's Day, they'll probably let us live stream till like LB6 or something. 最終が配信されるときにネタバレのラインもそこまで追いついているのでしょうか。オーディールコールまでは早めに到達する予定ですが、総称以降は未定ですね。最新章まで公開していいのかというのは我々とても悩んでいるところです。最近はアニメなどでもクライマックスを知った上でその過去を知るために最初から見る人も 多く増えていると聞いています。しかし当然ネタバレをしないで遊びたい人が多いのではないと思っていますが、一瞬にこれが正解というのないかと思っています。ひとまず今回は一つ新しい方向にトライしてみるというところですね。ライブにも入ってからはストーリーのボリュームや演出もより濃くなっているので、そこをみんなで共有し盛り上がる流れができたなら、最終章に向けて対策の一つになるのではないかと考えています。So Mr.2 is cooking. So the interviewer says when the final chapter gets live streamed or announced, right? Will the spoiler line catch up to us to that an extent? And then Mr.2 actually gave us a really good whatchamacallit. Mr.2 gave us a really good line here. We're definitely planning. We're definitely planning to reach or deal call prologue as fast as we can is the plan, but from Sosho it's still undefined because there are some Sosho and the new story, right, the final chapter being officially publicized. It is one of the hardest decisions that we are constantly battling about. Recently, there are a lot of players or a lot of people that, knowing the anime's climax, wanting to know the root of it from the very beginning and start the game, started to increase more and more, is what I've heard. However, naturally, there probably are more people that would like to play the game without getting spoiled. But I do not want to make this a one answers all kind of ordeal and are still contemplating with the others. So, as a new direction, we wanted to use this as a new trying, and want to use this forward to try out a new direction is what I think. After all, entering season 2, stories, volumes, and animation gets a lot more intense. And so I would like to use that opportunity to get everybody to synchronize and get excited with the flow and the festivities all together. And when that occurs, hopefully to encourage everybody to continue the story up till the final chapter. I believe that is the best way to slowly but surely reach the final chapters and have the storyline get public little by little, is what I think. Very smart, Mr.2. So essentially, he doesn't want it to be one answer, right? And he also just wants the player base to hype out new players to, and then help them out to whatchamacallit, get to the final chapter. "今後のシステム監視に対して加納さん個人としての優先度が高いものはありますか?」細かい部分にはなりますが、自動修復をもう少し使いやすくしたいとは考えています。私は意外と自動修復を使っていまして、メインショーをいつもの詳細だけではなく、自動修復で出てきたサーバントで戦ってみるのも結構楽しいんですよ。さすがにフェーテルバトルやグランドバトルまで行くとしっかり修正を考えないとバトルはしませんが、特に道路の途中に規制の限りであるパーティーの組み直しが必要なものは、まず自動で選ばれたものでトライしてみたいですね。絆がマックスになっているサウンドを反射できると嬉しいですね。So, it says, from here on out, Mr.2, do you have any system that you want to prioritize? Do you have any other system changes and other things that you want to prioritize that is on top of your list? This is super niche, and this is personally my opinion, but I would like to make the auto whatchamacallit, the auto team creation a bit more easier to use, in my opinion. Unlike the other people they might add, I like to use the auto team creation in order to go through the main story just for fun. Not the ones that we constantly make to one shot and move forward, but utilizing this auto team creation. Yeah, utilizing those servants in fight is quite the fun to have as well. Of course, during fatal battles or grand battles, I do bring my own properly team in order to fight this hardship. But while on like the roadways or in the midways or something that requires a restricted party setup, I usually try to just press auto and try out the game by playing the auto selected characters for just to try. Okay. Coin fix is not an immediate priority. I'm going to tell you right now, I believe the coin question has been mitigated by the higher ups. I'm pretty sure coin questions have been mitigated. So don't blame Mr.2. And at the same time, Famitsu article was made before the coin updates. And I think the coin updates, he should ask Nasu and Takeuchi. I think Mr.2 can't fix coin fix anymore, so I think the interview stopped asking it. And I'm pretty sure this interview, I like this guy, so he definitely tried to ask it and got mitigated. 100%. So the interviewer asked, personally, I would like to remove max bonded servants in your in your auto servant creation, or just automatically making the thing happen. You're definitely right. So Mr.2 says you're definitely right. I'll look into it. 今後も話したことですが、FGO を遊ぶ上で時間を省略できることは重点的に取り組んでいきたいと思います。プレイ時間の大半をバトルやストーリーを楽しむよう時間にフォーカスできるように今後も機能修復を進めていく予定です。個人的にはマックスになっているサーバントは排除できないと嬉しいです。So yeah, so interviewer says, I wish we can remove Max Bond servants in the auto servant making thingies. And then Mr.2 says, I understand that. I'll look into it. As I've spoke to you before, we're here to definitely make sure that FGO playing time is not cut but shortened as much as possible to an extent when it comes to creating teammates and other aspects. We want the playtime to be mostly focused on battles and reading stories and having fun as a focus variant. So we're definitely going to add additional new gimmicks into the game in the near future. What is this auto servant making thing? Oh, auto servant making things is that you can now, there's a button you can press in FGO now where you can where they can specifically make auto teams. So you can make your teams automatically depending on some of the parameters that you put. So in a team, like when you need to create a team composition, you don't have to click all day. You can just press this autofill and it automatically fills your team from scratch, right? Mr.2 likes to do this. during like walking through stories and places where you don't have to try hard, right? And Mr. 2 of course says during like fatal battles and grand battles, he does have his own composition and you have to play properly to fight, right? But some of the easier ones he likes to play autofill and kind of see how servants work out. And then the interviewer asks, I wish that you can take out max bonded servants in the autofill list because I believe currently if you pick autofill, it does prioritize to an extent your maxed bond characters. So that's why he's kind of saying, I wish there's a button or a parameter that removes back next bonded servants. But this is all on autofill stuff, so don't worry too much about it. Oh, damn. He's cooking. The interviewer is based. Speaking of time efficiency, is there any implementations of losing 3 times the amount of AP in order for one rotations to get 3 times the amount of mat drops? Has any of those sequences came into play or planned out for the future? Based. It says, Mr.2 says, それは現状考えていません. Oh, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. あ総称まで公開していいのかというのは、新章まで公開していいのか、wait, wait, where the fuck is that? There we go. 周回の時間の効率を上げてしまうと、その設定もその効率が前提になって必要な周回数が増えてしまいます。それよりは1回のバトルにある定時の時間はかかるけど、周回数が少ない方がいいかなと、FGO としては人によって差が大きくなるような時間証拠は入れない予定です。周回数が少ない方がいいかなと。FGO としては人によって差が大きくなるような時間周時間周行は入れない予定です。現状それは考えていません。周回の時間効率を上げてしまうと設計もその効率が前提になってしまい必要な周回が数が増えてしまいます。That's interesting. 必要な周回数が増えてしまいます。それよりは1回のバトルにある程度の時間はかかるけど、周回少ない方がいいかなと。Interesting, interesting. So, interviewer asked, how about we lose 3 times the AP but get 3 times as much as the what per rotation, right? Mr.2 specifically says, at the very moment, they're not thinking about it at all. Because if they increase the efficiency time on farming, that farming setup will become the new norm, and they have to increase the rotation amount. And so instead of doing that, they need, doing one battle and taking some time to make the rotation smaller is better, in his opinion, as an FGO player. And FGO is not going to implement anytime soon of those time super restraint sorts of effects. So it's essentially they're saying, hey, if we times 3, the higher ups is going to want us to make more shit require more things. So they're saying, hey, you don't want this. It's pretty funny. right? Because this shit will be OP for fucking Lotto. 100%. Just increase AP amount. They won't. What? The fuck? They won't increase AP amount. AP amount is restricted, so you guys will spend apples. And if you guys can't spend apples, you use sync words. So yeah, it's essentially Mr.2 are saying that we can't do this. You don't want to do this. Because if you do it, it'll become the new norm, and you're going to be farming practically 3 times the amount of AP with 3 times the amount of mat drops. Is what Mr.2 is saying. So he's saying that the more efficient it gets, the more rotations of rounds that you might have to do in FGO. Because remember, FGO is a money-based game. So they're just saying that, hey guys, don't think about doing auto farm or super efficient farm, because once FGO gets more efficient than it is now, you're gonna have to farm more, which equates to using apples more, which equates to using sync words more. So Mr.2 is kind of warning us here, saying that if the efficiency of mat game gets more efficient, um, you're gonna have a bad time. It'll go from 90 bronze skills to like 140. Yeah, something like that, right? And Mr.2 is also warning that, hey, the events, right, in order to completely clear shop, you might actually have to farm 3 times the amount. Right, so he's just like, chill. So 10th year, their feelings, ikigomi. So their thought process going to 10th year and feelings towards the end of season 2. Lastly, I would like to hear your themes and devotions going through the 10th year, Mr.2. So Mr.2 specifically says 来年はいろいろな意味で FGO にとても、FGO にとっても大事な年になります。まずは、終章に向けた年にもなりますし、そこにみんなで達成したいという思いもあります。それもあって、終章前点の限定期間のイベントについては参加条件を引き上げていかざるを得ないかなと考えていますよ。今回はひとまずせめて夏のイベント参加条件もあり、オールディールコールに到達してもらうように呼びかけてきましたが、そこはあくまで通過点。次は総称クリアし、次は総称をクリアしていただけたいですね。10周年に向けてそういう流れを作っていく予定です。So Mr.2 answers, next year, aka the 10th year of FGO, in many different meanings, it will be a very important year for FGO. First and foremost, I would like a lot of the players to reach the final chapter of Season 2. On top of that, before the final chapter, when it comes to limited time events, its requirements are slowly but surely going to get raised up. This year, we made it so that our summer event requirement is going to be Ordeal Call. But, but that is merely a progress point. Next, I would like the players to slowly but surely reach reach and beat Soshos. It would be greatly appreciated. We are making it. We're making that a theme topic in order to reach 10th year as planned. So it's essentially Mr.2 is saying ordeal call requirement is just the beginning. The next few events might require Sosho clear. I'm assuming it's just Sosho 1 till like next year. In order to get to the 10th anniversary, they are planning to make sure that a lot of players can reach Ordeal Call and Sosho. That is their plan.ターベント育成を処女する面倒などでも含めて総称への準備を進める年になっていくと。ここまでの1年も全力でやってきましたが、10年はそれ以上頑張らないといけないと思います。9年目にやろうとしていたネタを10年目に回すといったことは全くしてなくて、全部やりきった上で10周年をどうするかを考えています。第2部の終わりが来るということで、私自身本当に感動深いものもあって楽しみにしています。第2部ディレクターとしてはちょっと寂しい思いもありますが。So the interviewer asked, this year will be a preparation for the final chapters in order to level up your servants and moving forward in story, correct? It says we've done this for an entire year, up till 9th anniversary as well. But I sincerely think going towards the 10th anniversary, we need to double down on that effort as best as we can. We have not done9年目にやろうとしていたネタを10周目に回すといったことは全くしてなくて、it says, yeah, we have not done any of backtracks or taking 10th, the 9th year events and rotate it back to 10. We didn't bring it back. They didn't push anything back for this 9th year. They didn't push anything back for the 9th year. And while we're going to accomplish everything in the 9th year, on top of that, we are still thinking, we're with that, in fact, plus thinking of 10th year and how we can go forward about it. The season 2 of the story is reaching its conclusion. To me, I have a very complex and heartfelt emotion. And in a little way, I am excited for this. I am excited for this to come. However, as a season 2 director, I do feel a little sad about this coming soon. そういえば第2部が完結したら加納さんの肩書きはどうなるのでしょうね。どうなるんでしょうね。はは。もう第2部ディレクターと呼べなくなると思いますが、期待される限りはこれからも頑張っていただきたいなと思います。So it says, after season 2 has concluded, Mr.2, what will you do with your title? What will happen to you? Mr.2 specifically says, I wonder what do happen. Haha, right? Lol. Unfortunately, probably people will not call me season 2 director anymore, but I will do what I can. Until my job is finished, I will answer all the expectation within full extent of my ability, is what I would like to do. So essentially, Mr.2 says, until he's done, he ain't stopping. 交渉に向けて仕組みが進んでいるかと思いますが、何かしらのヒントをいただけますか？it says we're finally getting to the final chapter. Little by little, we're moving forward to that direction. Can we get any hints of sort? 那須さんと話しながら進めてきた、首相での大きな新しい仕組みは、これまでやってきたことの盛大大祭性になると思います。あの時にこういうことをしたのは、これがあったからかなとつながってくるはずです。So it's essentially the interviewer asked, can we get some hints towards the final chapter, things that we should expect? Mr.2 specifically says, I've conversated with Mr. Nasu and continue this onward. So, Shusho, the final chapters, a lot of the newer gimmicks is going to be the conglomeration of all the gimmicks that we've done together and more. The reason why we did certain things here and there is because this was going to happen and it's going to connect and understand and connection will be made. So the interviewer specifically says, that's why you keep asking us to level up your servants as much as you can. You constantly say this, but is there any difference now that we've reached the 9th year? Mr. Kano says, I believe you should definitely get all your servants to bond 10, in my honest opinion. Simultaneously, when it comes to skill-wise, do your very best to level them as much as you can, and if not, at least to a fine line, like level 6, right? He's trying to say level it to at least level 6, I think would be a good idea. Oh, damn! Then fucking interviewer says some next level things, huh? Oh, I see. So a lot of servants are going to play a forced role soon. Is that what it? Is that why you're telling us to level everybody up? And then Mr.2 says, 深入りを入れていきますね。笑い。そこはフェイトならではの取り組みになるのではないかと思います。スキルを強化するとなると、素材の必要図が一気に上がるので、後回しにしている人も思いますが、ぜひ進めておいてもらえたら嬉しいです。So it says you dig deep. Yeah, you will. Yeah, that's. Yeah, 強制出撃になるみたいなことでしょうか。You dug deep on this one, and then laughs, right? そこはフェイトならぬの取り組みになるのではないかと思います。I think it's best to say it's going to be like a fate tag team structure. 取り組み、そこはフェイトならではの取り組みになるのではないかと思います。そこはフェイトならではの取り組みになるのではないか。スキルを強化すること。So yeah, I think Mr.2 is saying that there's going to be a lot of forceful. So I genuinely think there's going to be a lot of forceful forceful servant that needs to get slotted in to fight certain battles in the final battle, I suppose. So, when it comes to skill strengthening and whatnot, requirements of the mats increase tremendously all of a sudden. So some people just put it in a back burner for a later time and moments. But I do believe using these opportunities currently and later, in the future to level them up would be greatly appreciated. Mr.2, by the way, says, by the way, these bond, interviewer says, by the way, these recent bond obtaining ups is 20% and more. These niche craft essence have increased. Are there going to be more niched bond craft essences coming into the future, or will there be more increase in percentages later on in life? It says more craft essence wise, increasing a possibility is definitely, but when it comes to increasing its number percentages, I sincerely believe 20% will be the maximum for the MLB. But he does put ... 最大ではないでしょうか. So I do think maybe, right? There's a yeah, MLB maximum 20% might be the max. I believe それより、例えば特定のクエストでは絆がより上がりやすいようにして、そこで20%の礼儀があればよりお得といったことはやるかもしれません。Oh, interesting. So, それよりは、例えば、特定の at a certain quest, making the bond increase up, and on top of that, having that 20% craft essence might be a affordable or cheap, right? Like effective. They might do a couple of those. And then last but not least, the interviewer answers with the final chapter. Can we expect the final chapter to be more exciting than the Temple of Time Singularity? And Mr.2 answers, もちろんそこを目指しています。とはいえ、一部とはいなる体験を生み出さないといけないとも思っていますよ。まだ100%決定しているわけではないのですが、目指したい体験はある程度見えていて、それをどう実行するかを検定している段階です。ご期待ください。So yeah, the interviewer says the final chapter. Can we expect it as amazing, if not even more crazier than Final Singularity? It says, of course, that is the pinnacle of goal that we are currently reaching for it. But then again, we definitely think to ourselves that we need to create an experience that is different from season one. Things are not 100% ready and decided on what that is just yet, but we've seen what we want to look forward to, and the experiences that needs to happen is in the horizon. And so currently, how we can make that a possibility is in our current step and verifying it. Please look forward to it. Yeah, the interviewer were talking about the niched bond CEs. So we're gonna get more niched bond CEs, but the maximum niche bond CEs are 20%. And I believe that concludes Mr.2's story. It's not bad, not too shabby. No coins, unfortunately, but I'm pretty sure it got fucking omitted. Or was told not to question that. So don't get too hung up on it. It seems that Mr.2 is cooking. And final chapter is hype. It's a shame that we didn't get to learn more about summer. But then again, the summer kind of spoke itself. Glad to see the Holy Grail front might get added into a challenge quest. That'd be pretty cool. Surprising that not a lot of people finished Aquamarine. Interesting. Good to hear about Mahoyo. Good to hear about all these surprises we got. Not too shabby. There was not a lot of things that he was able to open up in this interview, to be honest. I genuinely feel like my man. I feel like the interviewer's question got fucking gated, which kind of feels bad, man.